Your man, Louie T. Welcome to the command post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So roster cuts are starting to trickle in. I told you guys this was going to be a process because unlike previous years where they would have already trimmed the roster down to, say, 70 by now or 75, and now all they would have to do is trim it down, another 22 guys, they're at 90. Right? So it's going to be a process to get all the way down to 53. And being that they don't have to do it until 4 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, you're going to get rid of the guys that have absolutely zero chance of making your team. You don't want them on your practice squad either. You're going to give them a chance to latch on somewhere else. So you're going to cut those guys loose immediately. And the much tougher cuts, it's going to be in waves. So the first wave of cuts are the guys that are gone. They're not interested in retaining even on the practice squad. They're going to allow them to see if they can latch on somewhere else with one of the other 31 teams. The next wave of cuts are going to be the guys that are kind of in, no man's land. I'm not really too sure that they want them back, but there's a chance if one of the other guys that they have penciled in as a practice squad guy decides to go somewhere else, these are the guys that they would be picking from, the pool that they would be picking from to kind of reach back and say, hey, if you don't find another opportunity, we'd love to have you here, back on the practice squad, right? So that's the next wave of guys that will be cut. And then that final wave, which is going to be tomorrow, right? Those are the guys that were this close to making the roster. It's a numbers game, yada, yada, yada. But they want those guys back on the practice squad. You cut them at the very end because what you want to do is sneak them in right before the deadline. Try to see if you can, while everybody else is tending to their own business, right, trying to figure out their own roster situation. You want to sneak those cuts out and then get those guys back onto your practice squad. So that's how this is going to work. And so far, that's exactly how it's going. So let's take a look at the guys that have been cut to this point at the recording of this video. These are the names of the players that have been cut thus far. Running back Jaret Patterson, I know there was an attachment for a lot of you with JP. I told you guys he wasn't going to make this roster. You could see the way that they were playing him in the preseason. He was barely getting any touches, and he was coming in with that final wave of guys, which told you all you needed to know about how they felt about him. The guys that were playing immediately after the starters left were the guys that they really wanted to see. Like Rashad Wildgoose, I know a lot of you are saying, why does he keep getting, because they really want him to work out. That's why they keep putting him on the field in those situations, but he keeps letting them down, and at some point they're going to have to realize he ain't it. Well, Jaret Patterson is a guy, he made the team last year, if you recall, so it's not like he hasn't ever made the squad. Like I know a lot of y'all brought up Mac from the Jay Gruden days, but he made the team. It's just I don't think they really viewed him in the light that I think his role will be for a team around the league if he makes it. Like, he'd be perfect for, say, like a Sean Payton, someone who knows how to get the most out of these smaller backs. He's an NFL running back. I think he's going to latch on somewhere else. Marcus Kemp, I thought was one of the guys that was going to have a big shot. And then I told y'all that second preseason game against the Ravens where he only played 3 snaps. I said, that's very telling. Okay, all these guys out here getting run and this man gets 3 snaps. That tells you all you need to know about how they feel about Marcus Kemp. So they cut him. DeMarcus Fields, DJ Sturgis, Joshua Kalu, Isaiah Mack, Farrod Gardner, and then Michael Pilardi, who came in, punted during the Browns game. Cut him a while ago. Jalen Sample was one of the undrafted free agent wide receivers that we cut a while back as well. So those are the cuts as we speak. Again, more could have come down by the time you're seeing this video, but it won't be anybody noteworthy. It won't be somebody, oh my God, I can't believe that. That won't happen until tomorrow. So I've been explaining that to you guys over the course of the weekend. That it's going to be in layers, right? These cuts are going to be made in different tiers, so to speak. And this first tier are the guys that they're going to have to find work elsewhere. So what I wanted to do was reinforce my 53-man roster projections. I'm going to stand stand firm in my projections. I'm not going to change anything. Despite having a 3rd preseason game under our belt now, I'm not going to change what I've done. So here's a reminder of what I did. 2 quarterbacks, Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett. 4 running backs, Brian Robinson Jr., Antonio Gibson, Chris Rodriguez Jr., Alex Arma. 7 wide receivers, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, De'Ami Brown, Byron Pringle, Dax Milne, Kazmir Allen. I'll have more on that in a second. Tight end, 3, Logan Thomas, John Bates, Cole Turner. Offensive line, Andrew Wiley, 10. Andrew Wiley, Charles Leno Jr., Cornelius Lucas, Trenton Scott, Sam Cosme, Sadiq Charles, Chris Paul, Nick Gates, Tyler Larson, and Ricky Stromberg. So that gives you a grand total of 26. You go to the defensive side of the football, 10 defensive linemen, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, James Smith-Williams, Casey Toohill, F.A. Obata, Andre Jones, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Fadarian Mathis, John Ridgeway. I think that number is going to be 11 now. So this is the one alteration I will make. Because and I'll tell you where I'm going to do it at. But I'm going to add an 11th defensive lineman to the mix, and that's rookie KJ Henry, who played his ass off in week 3 of the preseason. I think he just played his way onto the roster. Linebacker, Jamin Davis, Cody Barton, David Mayo, Khalil Hudson. That gives you 4 there. Emmanuel Forbes, Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juice, Danny Johnson. I'm going to take Christian Holmes out of the cornerback room. I'm going to add Quan Martin into the cornerback room. Right? So it gives you 5 corners. I'm sticking with 4 safeties: Cam Curl, Derek Forrest, Percy Butler, Jeremy Reeves. So the safety number comes down to 4. And the cornerback number stays at 5. So it gives you a grand total of 9 defensive backs. And I'm going to add that leftover from the defensive backs room, which was 10 initially, that's been chopped down to 9. And I'm going to reallocate that to defensive line with KJ Henry. And I'm going to have a grand total of 11 on the defensive line. So 24 in all when it's all said and done. 11, 4, and 9. So 24 total. That gives you 50. Then you get to your specialists. We know this is locked in. Punter Tressway, Joey Slides, your place kicker, Cam Cheeseman as your long snapper. Those are your 3 specialists to give you a grand total of 53 players on the roster. So what I want to do now, I'm not changing it. So here's why I'm not going to pull Casimir Allen off of the 53-man roster. I don't know if you guys had a chance to listen to Ron after the game, but Ron sounded like he was making excuses for Kaz Allen is what it felt like to me. And you make excuses for somebody that you want to like. You make excuses for someone that you are going to try and make space for in the roster. If you didn't feel like he got it done, it could have been short and succinct, straight to the point. Hey, got to take advantage of opportunities, and we'll see what happens. We'll sit down, we'll talk. He could have said that, but he didn't. He made excuses for him dropping one pass, which he should have caught both of the passes. He made an excuse for him. Hey, he took his eye off the ball. Duh, we can see that. You can't do that. And Kaz Allen said after the game, I can't do that. No matter what happened, that can't happen. And Ron made excuses for him, which tells me Ron is trying to make a case for him to be on this roster. And all it's going to take is for the special teams coach, Nate Kaiser, to co-sign. All Nate Kaiser has to say, hey, we don't have anybody else like him to return kicks for us. And I'm not going to lie, that 30-yard kickoff return that he had, where he jump cut and then took off, like that's special. Like, he's got some talent. We all know this. I think they're going to keep him anyway. I think they're keeping Dax Mill. I know a lot of you want Mitchell Tinsley. They're not keeping Mitchell Tinsley on the 53-man roster. They know they can get Mitchell Tinsley onto the practice squad, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Dax Milne is going to be here, and Kaz Allen is going to be here, I believe. So I'm sticking with that, and I think the only alteration I'm making to my 53-man roster projection is that KJ Henry played his way onto the roster. He had at least 4 really good rushes. I thought he was held 3 times coming around the corner. He looked like a guy that was fighting for his, roster spot, and I thought he made a good showing. And I don't think anybody actually stepped up and demanded that they be on the roster at the cornerback position for CB5. So Quan Martin slides into that CB5 role, and I think, and he's really more of a safety. I've already stressed that to you guys. I really think I could be right in my initial breakdown with them keeping Christian Holmes as CB5 and keeping Quan as the 5th safety and going with 10 DBs. But I just think they're going to find a way to keep KJ. And I'm not taking off any of my offensive linemen. I'm not removing Kaz Allen yet. So that's how I'm going to get KJ Henry onto the roster. And maybe this is a mistake, and I should have just taken Kaz Allen off and added KJ Henry in. But I'm going to leave Kaz Allen. Something tells me Ron is going to keep him instead of cutting him loose. Something tells me. I could be wrong about that, but we'll see. So with that said, I've got 16 names. I'm giving you all the guys that I think are going to make the practice squad. You ready? I got 16 names for you. Okay. So again, this is subject to change, clearly, because other teams could cut players Washington wasn't expecting, and one of those guys could tickle their fancy more than one of these guys here, right? So this is not etched in stone, but I think I think there's a margin of error for me here of, two. I'm going to be off by 2 names, probably. No more than that. I feel really good about what I've just done here. So here are the 16 names of the players that I think are going to be on the practice squad when these cuts are done. The dust settles, the smoke clears, the 53 is set, and here are the 16 guys that will be an extension of the roster as practice squad members. So at the cornerback position, Tariq Castro Fields and Rashad Wildgoose, I think, are your 2 cornerbacks that will be on the practice squad. I think William Bradley King will be an edge rusher, the only edge rusher on the practice squad, because they kept so many this year, right? They kept 7 edge rushers, so there's not a lot of space on the practice squad necessary because you got 7 guys up. Defensive tackle Benning Poto IE. I think he's going to make the practice squad. I really like Benning Poto IE. So I think he's going to be a guy they continue to work with. I know they signed the guy from Atlanta, but he hasn't flashed really at all in the preseason. And I think Benny Poto IE continues to show that he is a guy you can continue to try to develop and see what you can get out of him. Linebackers, Milo Eifler and Dejon Harris, I think, are both on the practice squad. Mason Brooks is a guy that's definitely on the practice squad as an interior offensive lineman. Braden Daniels, who I don't have making the team, probably will make the team. I'm just going to be honest. I'm probably going to get that one wrong, but I'm sticking to what I believe is the right thing to do. So he's not making my 53-man roster. And it's always the right time, or it's never a wrong time to do the right thing. I'm sticking to my guns. And it's never too late for them to realize, hey, he's not ready yet to help us. Let's just put him on the practice squad. No one's going to take Braden Daniels. I promise you. You can get him on the practice squad. We'll see what they do. I got Braden Daniels on the practice squad. Jake Fromm. There's been this silly conversation over the last 48 hours of him, making a push for the roster. Jake Fromm is a practice squad quarterback. Nobody's taking Jake Fromm from you. Trust me. He's getting cut and ending up on the practice squad. Jonathan Williams is a guy they really, really like. And I think they hold on to him. There's just so much value with him, special teams as well. I just think they know what they're getting out of Jonathan Williams. I think he's going to be on this practice squad. Terrell Burgess, who I thought played well in the preseason, I think is a guy they would love to hold on to if he doesn't latch on somewhere else around the league. Alex Akingblue is a guy that they've been playing primarily at right tackle. I think they want to continue to work with him. And so I think he's going to end up being on this roster as well. This is the guy that I think moseyed his way on to the practice squad with a strong third preseason game. And that's Brandon Dillon. If you watch Ron's post-game presser from the third preseason game, he talked about some of the young tight ends stepping up. He was talking about Brandon Dillon. He came in here, he played well, caught a touchdown pass, made some plays in that last preseason game. I think he opened some eyes, and I think what he effectively did was he replaced Curtis Hodges as the practice squad tight end, and I think now Brandon Dillon has taken his spot. Curtis Hodges didn't really show anything this preseason. Dillon came in and already superseded him, I feel like. So Brandon Dillon is now your practice squad tight end. And then you got 3 wide receivers to round out the group. Mitchell Tinsley, Bryson Tremaine, and Kierick McGowan are the 3 wide receivers they end up keeping on the practice squad. So that's what the practice squad looks like for me. Real quick, I'll run over this list again. Tariq Castro Fields, Rashad Wildgoose are your 2 corners. William Bradley King is an edge. Benning Patoa IE. Benning Patoa IE as a defensive tackle. Linebackers are Milo Eifler and Dejon Harris. Offensive guard, Mason Brooks. Braden Daniels as a guard tackle combo, and Alex Akingblue as the tackle on the offensive line. Jake Fromm, quarterback. Running back, Jonathan Williams. Safety, Terrell Burgess. Tight end, Brandon Dillon. And then 3 wide receivers, Mitchell Tinsley, Bryson Tremaine, and Keurig McGowan to round out the practice squad. Tell me what you think. Who would you remove from that list? Who would you add on to that list? Obviously, if you don't have, after a lackluster showing, Kaz Allen making the roster, he's going to be on your practice squad, right? So that's probably one of the places where we differ. But can't wait to hear what you have to say. Leave it down in the comment section. I think you're going to see a bunch of guys that don't move the needle get cut today. So you shouldn't be concerned with what happens today. The real action is going to be tomorrow. That's when they'll be cutting players that they want back tomorrow. Most of the guys that they cut down today going to be guys that you were either not seeing on the field very often or never had a shot at making this roster. So tomorrow we'll be live. Tomorrow night we'll have the 53-man roster crystallized. We'll be live tomorrow night with Rio and Ed, Oliver, and we're going to run that 3-man booth tomorrow on the show, going over the 53-man roster with a fine-tooth comb. So join us tomorrow night, 9 o'clock P, here live on the Louie T Network as we dive in head first to this 53-man roster. It's going to be a crazy week this week on the Louie T Network. I'll be posting on social media to keep you guys abreast of what the schedule looks like this week. But we start with a Tuesday night live stream, a special Tuesday night edition, 53-man roster focus with myself, Ed Oliver, and Rio Robinson. So hope you can join us for that. Again, you'll be well aware of what's going on Wednesday. We're going to have the Super Friends stream, NFC East Super Friends stream over on that channel. Again, if you haven't already subscribed to that channel, now's the time to do it. We'll be live on that channel 8 o'clock on Wednesday night. But again, I'll be promoting this like crazy, so you won't have to wonder when is the next fill in the blank. And then Thursday, we're going to have a toast to the season. Last day of August, the calendar turns to September. Shit gets real. We're going to have a toast on Thursday night to what I think is going to be one hell of a season. I'm looking forward to the upcoming season. And I want you to share in this excitement, this exuberance that we have, this new lease on life we have, right? And I think we finally found our quarterback. So there's a lot to be thankful for. I know it's not Thanksgiving, but we will be toasting to what I think is going to be one hell of a season. So that'll be Thursday night, 9:30 p. here on the Louie T Network. So like I said, jam-packed week, tons going on. I will keep you abreast of everything, but in the meantime, keep your eyes peeled, ears to the street for these cuts. Again, I don't think you're going to see anything noteworthy today. Just a bunch of names that have been occupying roster spots to fill out the 90-man roster so that they could get through practice. Tomorrow is when the real fireworks take place, and when if a surprise is going to happen, it'll be tomorrow. It won't be today. So anyway, unless they want to give that guy an opportunity to, like they did when they cut Adrian Peterson when Ron first got here, you want to give him a chance to latch on somewhere else. You don't hold on to that kind of guy if you know he's not going to be on your practice squad. But the guys that they cut today, they don't want them on the practice squad either. So I digress. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the command post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I will see you guys tomorrow night. For those of you, I'll be around. I'll be very active. Lots of NFL content coming out because we're getting closer to the season. So I'll be around, but you'll see me tomorrow night in particular for the 53-man roster stream with Rio and Ed tomorrow night. So until then, you guys take care, have a good one, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.